He's BFF with Asia Wilson, one of the biggest whiners and criers, the girl that set on preaching white privilege. But beyond Wilson, it's about the culture at the company that's more concerned with quelling noise rather than making it, as Nike once used to.
Aja Wilson just broke down in tears. Why? Because Caitlin Clark scored a $28 million deal with Adidas.
The biggest known deal for a women's basketball player.
Clark has been part of the Nike family before. She had a deal while playing as an Iowa Hawkeye.
That's right, $28 million? Can you believe it? This rookie's making waves, and it's shaking up the whole WNBA. But here's the thing, it's not just about the money. There's way more to this story than you might think. Remember when I said some big names were about to make noise? Well, one of those names was Nike, but not in the way you'd expect. They signed Clark, then silence. No ads, no merch, nothing.
And why Nike has been reluctant to take advantage of Caitlin Clark. Because they have.
What made the sportswear giant hit the brakes on their newest star? Let's break it down. Nike offered Caitlin Clark a deal worth $28 million over 8 years. Sounds amazing, right? Wrong. For a player of Clark's caliber and popularity, this was a lowball offer.
But beyond Wilson, it's about the culture at the company that's more concerned with quelling noise rather than making it, as Nike once used to.
Nike, which signed Clark to an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal, has done next to nothing to promote the WNBA Rookie of the Year.
People were scratching their heads, wondering why Nike wasn't going all in on the hottest rookie in years. But here's where it gets weird. After signing Clark, Nike went quiet. No flashy ads, no special merchandise, nothing. It's like they signed her and then forgot about her. Can you imagine having the next big thing in women's basketball and not shouting it from the rooftops? That's exactly what Nike did. So, what's the deal? Why would Nike ghost their newest star? Some people think it's about race. The WNBA is mostly made up of black players, and there's a worry that promoting Clark too much might look like favoritism. Others think Nike's just scared of upsetting the balance in the league, especially with established stars like Aja Wilson.
He reports Nike wants to prioritize Aja Wilson, and it fears the optics of giving a rookie a signature shoe before an already established star.
This is the problem with Caitlin Clark and why they're trying to demonize Caitlin Clark.
Speaking of Aja Wilson, remember how she spoke out about race and privilege in sports? Some folks are wondering if her comments made Nike nervous about pushing Clark too hard. It's like they're walking on eggshells, afraid to make anyone mad. But here's the kicker. Nike's caution might be costing them big time. Their stock has dropped 20% this year, and they're going through some internal changes. Maybe that's why they're being so careful with Clark. But is being careful the right move when you've got a superstar on your hands? While Nike fumbled, another sports giant was watching from the sidelines. What if I told you that Adidas was about to change the game for Caitlin Clark and the entire WNBA? The deal they offered her isn't just big, it's revolutionary. Adidas saw Clark's potential and pounced. They signed her to a mind-blowing $28 million deal over 8 years. That's not just a contract, it's a statement. Adidas is saying, we believe in women's sports and we're putting our money where our mouth is. But this isn't just about Clark getting paid. Adidas is positioning her as a face of women's sports, right up there with legends like Billie Jean King. They're not just selling shoes, they're selling a vision of the future where female athletes get the recognition they deserve.
They're about diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is insanity, what they're doing to Caitlin Clark.
You know what's wild? While Nike was playing it safe, Adidas went all in. They're not just making ads, they're reshaping how we think about women's sports. It's like they looked at Clark and said, this girl isn't just a basketball player, she's a game changer.
An organization that got her on a bargain basement deal and is telling her, well, we're gonna wait to promote you until we're done promoting Aja Wilson.
Nike struck absolute gold when they signed Caitlin Clark to an 8-year, $28 million endorsement deal.
And boy, is she changing the game. This deal isn't just good for Clark, it's shaking up the whole WNBA. We're talking chartered flights for teams, more games in the season. It's like Clark's success is lifting up the entire league.
though Clark got famous around 22, if you want to buy her shoe, you could be waiting until 2026 or 2027.
Caitlin Clark signature shoes. It is mind-blowing. When the deal was first announced, we also got to see the other offers that were on the table for Caitlin Clark.
Imagine being a rookie and suddenly you're not just playing ball, you're transforming an entire sport. That's the power of this Adidas deal. It's sending a message that women's sports aren't just a sideshow, they're the main event.
Caitlin Clark dropped a shoe today at the very same time that Caitlin Clark would outsell Asia's shoe by 100 times.
What I've always thought was like, man, that contract she signed seemed pretty reasonable.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Adidas isn't just throwing money at Clark, they're investing in her potential to grow the sport. They see her as a transformative figure, someone who can bring new fans to women's basketball and change how people think about female athletes. Clark's deal is shaking up the WNBA, but it's also exposing some deep-rooted issues. Why would Aja Wilson, a league MVP, feel threatened by a rookie's success? The answer might surprise you. Aja Wilson, one of the WNBA's biggest stars, didn't take Caitlin Clark's Adidas deal well. In fact, she was so upset that she cried. Can you imagine being at the top of your game and feeling like a rookie is stealing your thunder? That's exactly what happened to Wilson. Wilson didn't hold back her feelings. She said, "It feels like some players are getting a leg up just because of their skin color."
He's BFF with Aja Wilson, one of the biggest whiners and criers, the girl that set on preaching white privilege. With people in the know, it indeed has something to do with the WNBA MVP and Nike athlete, Aja Wilson.
Whoa, that's a heavy accusation. She's basically saying Clark's getting special treatment because she's white. That's not just about basketball anymore. It's about race and privilege in sports. But Wilson didn't stop at words. She tried to push back against Clark's growing influence. Get this, she even lobbied for Clark's suspension. Talk about playing hardball. Wilson was so threatened by Clark's rise that she wanted her off the court. And here's where it gets really messy. Wilson tried to block promotional campaigns that showed off Clark's achievements. It's like she was saying, "Hey, I'm still the face of this league." But her actions just made her look insecure. Wilson's comments about white privilege in the WNBA sparked some serious debates. Some fans and analysts felt like she had a point, that black athletes don't always get the same hype as white ones.
That Nike has not done one thing to promote her. We have not seen any commercials, we have not seen any ads, we have not seen any Caitlin Clark merchandise.
Spreads and shares the basketball in an exciting way, and all of a sudden there's a momentum behind her and the league has relevance.
But others fired back, saying Wilson herself had plenty of advantages growing up. This whole situation shows that the WNBA is dealing with some big issues. It's not just about who's the best player anymore, it's about race, representation, and who gets to be the face of women's basketball. Wilson's tears weren't just about Clark's success. They were about feeling overlooked, about worrying that everything she'd worked for was being overshadowed. It's a reminder that even superstars have insecurities.